Okay, for anyone who just joined, my name is Jamie Wallace. I'm from Brainfuse, and I'll be conducting the webinar today. I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's a few minutes after 9 o'clock your time, or noon, my time here on the East Coast, so when we're supposed to be getting started. If anyone joins in late, I can always answer questions that they have or go back over what they missed. Okay, so everybody should be able to see my screen here. So we're on the main Help Now screen. Help Now is one of the two services that you subscribe to. We'll look at both of them today. We have Help Now and Job Now. So basically the point of today's webinar will be to go through those two services and show you exactly how they work and everything that we offer within both Help Now and Job Now. We do have a number of people signed in today. So as I said before, we'll use the chat box for any questions that anyone has throughout the webinar. So you can just type out any questions or comments you have in the chat box that you should see in the GoToMeeting window. It might be collapsed. I think it does that automatically. You might have to click on the little orange arrow to open that window back up, and there should be a chat box you can use there. If anyone does want to ask questions out loud, though, just save them till the end, and then I'd be happy to unmute people at the end, and you can go ahead and ask any questions you have out loud. Assuming you have either a microphone hooked up or you called in using a phone. But again, the main point of today's webinar is to make you aware of everything that's offered here. So I'm happy to take as many questions as anyone has. So I'll stop a couple times throughout the webinar to give you some time to type out questions, but you don't need to wait for me to do that. You can go ahead and type out a question anytime. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started from the main Help Now page right here. So Help Now is essentially our academic tutoring service. So we offer help here for both students and for adult learners. So pretty much all of the options we see on the main page for Help Now right here, these are all geared towards students, all these buttons that we see here. For adult learners, we have our resources for them found here by clicking on this yellow Adult Learners button here at the top of the page. So we'll get there a little bit later, but I'm going to start right here and just work my way down the page and clicking on all the different buttons that are offered here. So the first two are Live Help and Skills Building. So both of these options will connect you with one of our live tutors. The difference between these two is that Live Help on the left is usually used by a student who has a specific question that they'd like to ask. Most of the time it's a homework question, or maybe a question from a test that they just got back. Whereas Skills Building on the right is used by a student who has a general topic or skill that they'd like to get some help on. So maybe they're learning how to multiply fractions, they're having a little difficulty with it, they can log in here to get some extra help from our tutors. So if I click on the Live Help button to connect with one of our live tutors, all you have to do is choose a grade level and then a subject. So if you choose a lower grade level, you'll just see a few subjects listed here. And then if you choose a higher grade level, like 12th grade here, you'll see a lot of higher level subjects available as well. So you just choose the one you'd like. You can click right here if you'd like to get a Spanish speaking tutor. They're available for the same hours as our English speaking tutors. And then you go ahead and click on the Get Live Help button right here to connect with the live tutor. So our online classroom will open up and you'll get connected to a live tutor. So we'll come back and look at a live session towards the end today, but I'm first going to go through all of the different services that are offered. But we will come back and look at the online classroom. Back on the main page here, the Skills Building button now. I'll go ahead and click on that. So again, this page here will look very similar to the Live Help page. So this will connect me with a live tutor who can help with a skills building lesson. So I just choose, again, a grade level and a subject. So in this case, I chose 8th grade math. Then there's one more drop-down menu here where I can select a specific skill that I'd like to work on. So for 8th grade math, we have all these different skills listed here. Each one of these skills has a corresponding lesson that we've created that goes along with it. So if I choose Evaluate Expressions with Powers, and then I connect with the tutor will get a note saying that I chose this topic to work on, and then they can load our lesson on that topic right into our online classroom and work through that lesson with the student. If you can't find the topic you're looking for, you can always just go ahead and connect with the tutor and then just manually tell the tutor what topic it is you're looking for help with. And again, we'll come back and look at one of these live sessions a little bit later in the webinar. Okay, so for these first two services that we looked at, Live Help and Skills Building, your patrons will be able to log in, access Brainfuse, and essentially connect here with our live tutors right away. You can connect with a guest account, so the system will just automatically go ahead and let you connect with our live tutors here. However, we have some parts of our service where you'll be required to create a username and a password, and that's when you're accessing a service where anything needs to be saved or stored or exchanged with Brainfuse. So the next option here is for the Writing Lab, and that's one of those options where you'll need to create a totally free but a username and password so that you have your own account. Before I get into the Writing Lab, though, I just want to pause for a second to see if anyone has any questions so far about anything that we've gone over. So go ahead and type those out in the chat box, and I'll wait a few seconds to see if there are any questions. And while anyone's typing out questions that they have, I don't think I mentioned at the beginning, but usually it's set up so that when your patrons click on the links for Brainfuse, Help Now and Job Now, usually they'll have to enter a library card number for authentication. I'm not 100% sure that that's the way you have it set up, but usually that's the way it is. And then also sometimes referral IP addresses will be allowed, so if you're inside the library, you'll be able to access the service directly from those computers because we'll already have the IP address stored. Okay, great. And John just confirmed that inside the library it's IP address and barcode for outside. Yeah, so the library card barcode, I assume is what that means. So the patrons will have to enter their library card number to get access to the service when they're logging in from outside of the library itself. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, I don't see any. If anyone is typing them out, though, you can go ahead and continue, and I'll address that question right when I see it. So now to get into the Writing Lab here, that's this button we see right here. So I mentioned you'll need a username and password for this one, and for a few of the other services that we'll see as we go. Basically, the Writing Lab allows a student to send in a piece of writing they're working on to have it reviewed by one of our writing tutors. So the student has a draft of a paper they're writing. They can send it in here and get some feedback from our tutors. So the student is sending the document in, we'll review that and send it back to the student. So that's all done through the username and password that the student creates. As I mentioned before, it's totally free, and the only things you need to give us are a username and a password, and those can be whatever you'd like. The patron does not need to provide any personal information. So name, email address, anything like that, it's totally optional. You do not need to provide that to us. So to access the Writing Lab here, when you click on the button, I'm already signed in, so it takes me directly to the Writing Lab page here. If I was not, though, it would just take me to a page that asks me either to sign in, if I have an account, or to create a new account. So our system will always prompt you for that when you're trying to access a part of our service where you'll need the username and password. And then, of course, once you're signed in for that session, you can access all of the different services here that require the username and password. You won't need to sign in for each one. So to use the Writing Lab here, if I click on the button, you just follow the steps. So I can attach a file right here. So I'll attach a sample that I have. Pretty much any standard document type can be sent in to us. So the student attaches their file that they want reviewed, and then they can add any comments here for the tutor. So what the assignment was, what they're looking for help with, and then they can go ahead and click on Submit when they're ready to send that in. So you'll get a message right here that directs you to your message center. And the message center is located over here on the right. The message here also mentions the turnaround time, so we'll respond within 1 business day. As soon as you send in your document, one of our tutors might work on it and send it back within a couple hours, but at most we'll respond within 1 business day. But even over the weekend, we do our best to return documents within 24 hours. So if you send one in on Friday night or Saturday morning, you'll get it back within 24 hours most of the time. So the message center is right here. This is the document that we just sent in. And then when the tutor sends back their review, that'll show up right here on this page as well. So these learning account features here on the right, these are all specific to the account that's currently signed in. So everything you'll find here within your account will be specific to you. And we'll go over the rest of these options here as we go through the webinar. And then right here I have a sample reviewed paper. So when the tutor sends back their review, it'll look something like this. We always include our rubric form on the top, which has a number of sections here that the tutor will have to fill out with comments specific to that student's paper. So there's a number of sections there. And then if you scroll down the page, you'll find the actual student's paper. And there will be comments within that student's paper as well from the tutor. So the comments here in the blue bold text are from our tutor. The tutor's comments will always focus on providing comments and suggestions for improvement. So the student will have to take into consideration what the tutor says and go back and make changes on their own. So we're not trying to be an editing service, and do all the work for the student. For the student to really benefit, they'll need to read through our comments and then go back and make some changes. Back on the main page here, so that was the writing lab. Right next to that, we have our Send Question button. So this service works exactly the same way as the writing lab, except it's to send in a question rather than a paper. So you'll need the username and password again here, and then you just enter a grade level and a subject, type out your question. You can attach a document if you have one, that's optional, and then send that in. So that, again, gets sent in to our tutors, just like a document that you send in. One of our tutors will respond to your question within 1 business day for the turnaround time. Again, that's a max turnaround time. A lot of the time you'll get a response much more quickly than that. And for questions sent in here, again, we'll never give out answers. So if a student sends in a math problem, our tutor will either give some hints to the student, give them some resources, get the problem started, or most often what they'll do is work through a similar problem to show how that type of question is done, and then the student can use that to go back and solve their specific problem. So we'll never give out answers to questions sent in here. And then next to the Send Question button, we have our Language Lab. This is basically where a student would go if they are working on learning to speak Spanish. Spanish is currently the only language we offer here. It's the only one that we have a demand for. So you can just choose Spanish from the drop-down menu, and then choose Get Live Help, and that will connect you with a live tutor who can help with learning Spanish. We also had the Spanish language checkbox here in our Live Help and Skills Building options. So that will also get you a Spanish-speaking tutor. That's usually used by a native speaker. So someone who wants help on a math or a science subject from a Spanish-speaking tutor. And the Language Lab, again, is for someone who's usually an English speaker who's learning to speak Spanish. Okay, just pause for another few seconds to see if anyone has any questions about these first few options that we've gone over. So go ahead and type those out, and then if I don't see any questions, we'll move on in just a few seconds to the study section here. Okay, I don't see any questions so far, so I'll move down here to the study section. And the first button here is our test center. This is another part of our service where you'll need a username and password, and that's so that your test results for any practice tests you take here in the test center can be saved within your account. So if I click on the test center button, I can go ahead and take one of the many practice tests here that we have available. So on the left, you can just choose a grade level and then a general subject, and you can take a practice test in that subject. We also have on the right-hand side ACT and SAT practice tests. So if, for example, I want to take an ACT math quiz, I just choose that. I click on Take a Test. And then right here is the ACT math quiz that I just requested. So I can click on that test right here to go ahead and take it. Once I've taken one, the test results will be saved right here on this page as well. You can access this page by clicking on My Tests over here on the right. So this is called your My Tests page. It saves your test results as well as any tests you've requested to take but have not yet taken. So right here I have ACT English and Math that I've requested but haven't yet actually taken the quiz. From this page you'll be able to retake any quizzes you've already taken. You can of course look through the tests that you've already taken as well, to see which questions you answered incorrectly and what the correct answers were. And then a lot of students like to take one of these practice tests and then log in with one of our live tutors, and our tutors are able to access your test results. So you can log in, tell the tutor you just took a practice test, you'd like to go over the questions you answered incorrectly. Our tutor can open up that test and do that with the student. Back on the main page here, next to our Test Center button, we have what we call Flashbulb, which is essentially an online flashcard service. So if a student is trying to memorize some terms, instead of creating hard copies of flashcards, they can log into Flashbulb here and enter their flashcards online, and then we have a lot of different options that will help with memorization. So the student just clicks on the Flashbulb button here. For some reason this is taking a little while to load. It's a little bit frozen, it seems. But basically once this loads, there'll be a Create Now button that the student can click on to enter their own flashcards. So they'll have to type out the word and definition, but once they do it one time, that'll be saved here, and they can log back in at any point and access that set of flashcards. Let's go back. I'm not sure why this isn't loading. Okay, so that time it worked. You click on the Flashbulb button, you get to the Flashbulb page right here. Here's the Create Now button on the left. We also have all these different topics over here that you can click on, and they'll let you search through sets of flashcards that have already been created. But for the most part, those sets of flashcards are just created by other students, so they may not be accurate. So you can use them if you'd like to, but they may not be accurate, and they probably won't cover the exact words that you're looking to work on. But they're there as a resource, and for certain things like standardized tests here, they may be more useful than others. And then once you click on a set of cards, you'll have all these different options that'll help with memorization. So this page right here is one set of flashcards that's been created. So you have all these different icons you can click on that will let you do something different with the cards. So there's a number of games available here. You can just look through the cards themselves. You can take a quiz or a test. You can print the cards out if you want hard copies. So there's a lot of options here that'll help with memorization. Back on the home page here, those were the two options in our study section. I'll move on now to the Collaborate section down at the bottom. The first button we have here is Meet. So essentially Meet allows you to schedule an online meeting with whoever you'd like to invite to the session. So it uses our online classroom, just like when you connect with one of our live tutors, except in a Meet session here, this is scheduled in advance, and you're not connecting with our tutors. You're only connecting with the people that you invite to that session when you schedule it. So the way we envision this being used is possibly by a student to host a study group with fellow students, or even to be used by a tutor or a teacher to give some extra help to their students outside of the classroom. So if I click on the Meet button, it's another part of the service where you'll need a username and password. Only the person creating the meeting, though, will need the username and password. The people who are invited will be able to sign in without having an account. So to schedule the session here, I just type in the email addresses of the people I'd like to invite, put in the date and the time, and then a brief description of the meeting, and I click on send. So that'll send an email out to everybody that I invited. That email will contain a link that they can click on to join the session. So again, those participants will not need to have a username and password. They can just go ahead and click on the link that's emailed to them and join the session. As far as how these sessions work, they're very similar to a regular live session with one of our tutors. So we'll look at one of those later, and I'll mention the differences that we have between a Meet session and a regular live tutoring session. When you have one of these sessions saved, you have the calendar option over here on the right, and this is where that session will appear. So this is one that I created earlier. I could click on the Enter button here if I wanted to start that session. So I will do that a little bit later after we look at a regular live tutoring session. Back on the main page here, next to Meet, we also have Brainwave. So essentially Brainwave allows the patron to, essentially they'll be given a smartboard and they can put whatever they'd like on the smartboard, and it will be recorded in a nice little video format. So you might use this to show how to solve a multi-step math problem or show how to balance a chemistry equation. You can add any figures, graphs, shapes, anything that go along with it. And then you'll have this nice little recording showing how to go through the steps to solve that problem. So again, this might be used by students. It could also be used by tutors or teachers, because once you have one of these created, you can send them to somebody else. So if I click on the Create a New Brainwave button here, this window tells me a little bit more about the Brainwave tool, and then I just click on Begin Recording down here at the bottom to start. So I can use all these different buttons over here. You'll have these same buttons when you're connected in a live session. So for example, one of them here is a graph option. I can click and drag a graph onto the board. I can use our Shapes tool to put a line right onto the graph, and then I can go through the steps, to find the slope of that line or whatever the problem is asking for. So it's a great way to have this little video that will show exactly how to solve, a certain type of problem. And it can be used for other things as well, but that's just one of the main uses for it. So then I just click on Stop Recording when I've finished. Let's say I just call it Demo 11.7 for today. So I'll click on Save. That will save the Brainwave right here. You can always access this page by clicking on the Brainwaves button over here. So again, you'll need a username and password to record these so that they can be saved here within your account. So I can click on the play button to replay this recording, or the envelope icon here to email the recording to somebody else. So that's how Brainwave works. So those are the main options here on the Help Now page, other than the Adult Learning Center. So we'll get to that in just a minute, but again, I want to pause right now to see if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask about anything we've gone over. So go ahead and type those out if anyone has any. Okay, I see there's a couple questions. One's asking, do Meet participants all need to authenticate with a library card? No, they don't. When you get a Meet invitation, you just click on the link that's sent to you, and then it will take you to a page that asks you to register if you'd like to, but it's not necessary. There's an option to skip it, and you can just join the session right away. So essentially, you can invite pretty much whoever you'd like to one of those sessions. And there's another question saying, does the send the question need a user and login? Yes, the send question button right here will need a username and password. Basically, anytime you're sending something to us, when we send something back to you, it'll always be done through the account that you create. So we never send anything back by email or anything like that. It's all done through your Brainfuse account. So anytime anything is being sent back and forth or any information will need to be stored, you'll need to have a username and password. Okay, I don't see any other questions yet. So I'll go ahead now and click on the Adult Learners button that we see up here at the top of the page. So again, this is where any adult learners at your library would go. All the options that we've been looking at here are for the most part geared towards students. So within our Adult Learning Center here, on the right-hand side, underneath where it says Lifelong Learning, we basically have 5 of the exact same services that we just looked at. They're just also located here within our Adult Learning Center, and they're geared towards adults when they're accessed here. So we have live tutoring and skills building, the writing lab, where you can send in a piece of writing for review, take practice tests in the test center, or send in a question any time of day in 24/7 help. So we've looked at essentially these same services back on the main page. They're just geared towards adults here in the Adult Learning Center. Then on the left-hand side, we have some additional resources for adult learners. We have our Pass the GED button for anyone who's preparing to take the GED test. So on the left, we have study materials for the GED. Under number 2, in the middle, we have live tutors available who can help you prepare for each section of the GED test. And then on the right, we also have practice tests available. Then if we go back, right under the GED button, we have Prepare for the U.S. Citizenship Test. We have the same options here as we did for the GED. So we have study materials, live tutors, and then practice tests, all for the U.S. Citizenship Test. Our next button here is Write a Winning Resume. So for anyone who is looking for a job and looking to update their resume or create a new resume, we offer some help here. So we have online resources for resumes here on the left. In the middle, we have our Upload Resume button. So once one of your patrons has a draft of their resume written, they can click on the Upload Resume button right here and submit that resume to us. One of our resume editors will review that, provide some help with both format and content, and then send that reviewed resume back to the patron. Again, the turnaround time is just like for the writing lab, so it works exactly like the writing lab. So the turnaround time is 1 business day again for the max. And we're also happy to help with cover letters here. It says that down here, so even though we call it the resume lab, cover letters can certainly be submitted as well. Then next to the Upload Resume button, we also have a live resume help option. So you can connect with one of our resume tutors in a live session and either ask any questions you have or go over your resume in real time in a live session. And then sort of going along with the resume button, we also have a Career Resources button down here at the bottom. So this essentially lists different websites that we've compiled that can be used to find available jobs to apply to. So we have a nationwide resources option. These are national job search websites. We have a general job site section, and then a section for students and recent graduates, and also one for veterans. But then we also have a local resources for job seekers option. So these are customized for Nevada. So if you have any additional links that you'd like us to add, you can email those to us, and we can add them to this page. And then right above the Career Resources option, we have Microsoft Office help. And here we offer help with Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint up to the most recent versions of those programs. So on the left, we have some online resources, including some tutorials. And then on the right, you can connect with a live tutor and ask any questions you have about Excel, PowerPoint, or Word. Okay, does anyone have any questions about the Adult Learning Center? Again, I'll just pause for a few seconds to see if anyone would like to type out any questions. There's a question asking, what languages do you offer the citizenship testing help? A lot of it's just in English, but a lot of the resources that we have there are available in other languages. I think there's maybe 4 languages that some of the resources are available in, but a lot of the resources are, for now, just in English. Okay, for right now I don't see any other questions. So back here on the main page for Help Now, remember we clicked on the Adult Learning Center button, or the Adult Learners button up here to get to the Adult Learning Center. So there's just a few other things here on this page that I want to go over here in the Learning Account features. The View Past Sessions option, essentially all of your live tutoring sessions are automatically recorded and saved right here as long as you have a username and password. So if you remember, with the live tutoring options here, you do not need a username and password. Our system will give you a guest account. But if you log in with a guest account, your sessions are not automatically recorded and saved. So it is beneficial to have your own account even when you're connecting for the live sessions here. You can essentially log back in, click on past sessions here, and you can replay any of your past tutoring sessions, essentially like a video. And then we went through all of the rest of the options here, I believe, except for My Cloud Pack. And Cloud Pack is essentially a storage device. So when you click on it, this one has not been used within this account. So I can add whatever folders I'd like here within my Cloud Pack. You know, I might add one for English papers, maybe one for math class notes. Sorry, that didn't register. And then within these folders here, you can upload documents that you have created. You can also create documents directly by clicking on the Add button here. So you can create documents here within Cloud Pack. So in one capacity, it works just as a storage device. But the nice thing about it is that you can access any documents you have saved here in your Cloud Pack when you're connected in a live session. And you can essentially open them up right into our online classroom window, so you can share those with the tutor that you're connected with. So, you know, if you log in with a writing tutor, you might have a copy of a paper you're working on there. You can upload that into the online classroom and share it with the tutor. Okay, so those are all the options here within Help Now. I'm just going to quickly sign out of Help Now here, and we're going to look at the Job Now service that your patrons will also have access to. So again, there'll normally be 2 links on your website. So there'll be one for Help Now and one for Job Now. So if a patron clicks on the Job Now link, this is the page that they'll get to. So Job Now is essentially our job search help service. So we offer help with all aspects of the job search process. You can basically access everything that we offer by clicking on the 4 different buttons that you see available here. You'll notice that the one down at the bottom is the Adult Learning Center. So if I click on that, it takes me to the same Adult Learning Center page right here that we saw before. So you have access to the Adult Learning Center from both Help Now and Job Now. And that's just because there's a little bit of overlap there between academic resources and job-related resources. We have 3 additional buttons here within Job Now that are unique to Job Now here. So I'll click on the first one, which is Write the Resume. and show you what we offer here. So for resume help, we have some resume templates here. So for anyone who's creating a resume for the first time or creating a new resume, they can use one of the 4 templates that we have available right here. We also have a resume resources button, so just some different materials and links that will help you write a better resume. And then on the right, we also have our resume lab. We have the resume lab located within the Adult Learning Center as well. We saw it there. It's also located here within JobNow. It does not matter which one your patrons use. They both work exactly the same way. So right here, you can upload your resume, your cover letter, and send it in to us to get a review. So those are the options available in the Write the Resume button. Next, we have Ace the Interview. So here we have a live interview coach button that'll connect you in our online classroom with someone who can help you with preparing for an upcoming interview. Interview tips. These are some basic tips you can read through to get some help in preparing. So some of the tips are for before, during, and even after the interview as well. So right here is before the interview. And then next to the interview tips button, we also have some online resources, just like we had for resumes. So those were the options within the Ace the Interview button. Next to that, here on the right, we have links and tips. So within links and tips, our first option is career assessments. So if you have any patrons who have no idea what field or industry they want to go into, they can take one of these free career assessments here. And then after taking one of these, sometimes patrons will log back into Brainfuse and get help creating a resume, get help finding jobs in their area within that industry that they were directed to. Anything like that, we would be happy to help with. And then next to career assessments, we have our job resources links. These are the same ones that we saw before within the Adult Learning Center. So if I click on this, you'll see we have the nationwide and local resources options. So those links will be exactly the same. Again, they're just located here within JobNow and also within the Adult Learning Center. Here on the main JobNow page, you can also do a quick job search just by clicking right here and typing in a title, a keyword, a company, a location, anything like that, and you can do a quick job search, in addition to all of the different websites that we have within links and tips. Okay, so those were the options that we have available here within JobNow. All of the options that are specific to your account, again, they're located up here at the top of the page within JobNow instead of on the right-hand side as they are within Help Now. So you have past sessions for any past sessions that you've conducted here. CloudPack you still have access to here. And then the Message Center for any questions, resumes, cover letters, anything like that that you send in to us. Does anyone have any questions about the JobNow service? You can go ahead and type those out if you do. And then the last thing I want to do today will be to look at a live session. So we'll do that in just a few minutes. Is a live interview coach essentially a mock interview? Will they ask sample questions and critique answers? Is it a video chat? No, all of our live tutoring sessions just use our online classroom. So there's no video and there's no audio. So everything is done through typing and chatting on the whiteboard. So again, I'll show you that in just a few seconds. Once we're done with any questions here, we'll look at the live session and see exactly how that works. But yes, the way it's conducted will be, the tutor will ask a question or put a few sample questions on the board from an interview, and then the patron will, provide their sample answer, and the tutor will critique it. There's another question saying, if you create a login for Help Now, does it carry over to JobNow? No, Help Now and JobNow are separate. So usually patrons won't really be using both of them, but if anyone does use both services, yeah, they'll need they'll need a separate username for Help Now and Job Now. Usually anyone who's using the Job Now service will be an adult, and they'll be able to use our Adult Learning Center, for any academic options they need help with, or they'll be using the job search help options. So usually there isn't too much overlap, but for anyone that that does use both services, they would need a separate username and password. Okay, I don't see any other questions yet. So I'll go ahead and connect for a live session now to show you how that works. I'm just going to pause the screen for 1 second to get this set up. Okay, the screen should be live again now. So we're back here on the main Help Now page. So I'm going to connect for a live session. We saw a number of different areas where you can connect with our live tutors, but probably the most used options are the live help and skills building ones here, the first two that we looked at. So I'll go ahead and connect by clicking on the live help button. I just enter a grade level. Let's say I choose 8th grade and then writing, and then I just go ahead and click on the Get Live Help button to connect. So this is our online classroom right here that's opening up. This will look the same no matter what subject you choose. You always see the same online classroom here, whether it's from a Job Now session, a chemistry session, a math session. You'll see the same window here. So I've set this one up today so that I connect with myself. I'm also logged in as a tutor. So you'll see the tutor's name here. You also see it over here in the participants box. The session will normally begin with a greeting from the tutor down here in the chat box, and then the tutor will figure out what exactly it is the student needs help with. So the tutor would see, in this case that I chose 8th grade writing help, but of course they wouldn't know anything other than that. So the way our online classroom here works is there's basically two main parts to it. We have the whiteboard space up here that I'll get to in a second, and then we also have the chat box down here at the bottom. So this is where most of the back and forth communication occurs. If I want to type something out to the tutor, I just click down here at the bottom, and I can type that out here. So that's where the chatting back and forth occurs. The whiteboard space up here can be used for a number of different things. So a student can just click and type on the whiteboard up here, rather than typing down in the chat box. The student might put a question on the board here that they're having some difficulty with. This space would also be used by the tutor if the student logged in looking for general help on a topic, one of those skill splitting sessions that we saw. So, a student chooses, dividing fractions for something they need some help with. If the tutor loads a lesson on that topic, that'll load right here onto the whiteboard space. And then the tutor would work through that with the student. Our tutors also have a number of resources available to them. Sample resumes and cover letters, our resume templates, things like that, lists of interview questions as well for those interview sessions. So things like that the tutor can load onto the whiteboard here, for whatever will help the student or the patron the most. These sessions are used, for the most part, the majority of the sessions are students logging in with homework help or, some sort of question that they need some additional help with. So for those types of sessions, you can use all the buttons that we have over here. For example, the ABC button will let me click on the board and then type. This is sort of the default option. So I can click anywhere on the board and then type whatever I'd like. If you put your mouse over each of the options here, it'll give you a brief description of what that button does. So it works similarly to Microsoft Paint or another program like that. So you just choose the tool that you'd like to use, and then you can use that tool on the whiteboard. So you can change the font style and size. You can change the color. This button right here is especially useful. It lets you paste text or image directly onto the board. So you can copy and paste, part of a paper you're working on, a math problem from an online source, anything you'd like to share with the tutor here. Just copy it, put your cursor on the board, and then click paste to paste that. We have a straight line tool here. Let me change the color. You can use the straight line tool to underline, to draw figures. The graph tool we saw before, you can actually use it for a number line or for a graph, and you can double click on the icons that are available here to change the X and Y values. I'm not going to click on all the rest of these options. They're pretty self-explanatory, but a lot of them are very helpful for putting a math problem on the board, chemistry problem, anything like that. You can use superscripts and subscripts down here, and if you need to clear the entire board, you can do that here. These buttons up here at the top, though, are also very useful. We have a print option here that you can use if you'd like to print out what's on the whiteboard. So if you went over something that was especially useful, you can print that out. You can also, though, use your View Past Sessions option here on the website. So you also will have a recording there that will let you replay that session, assuming you're signed in with a username and password. Then we also have this envelope icon right here. So this can be used if you log in with a guest account and then decide you would like to have access to that session recording. You can just click right here and type in your email address. So you can actually type in your own email address or someone else's if you'd like to send the session recording to someone else. This can be used by a registered user as well as a guest. It basically just gives you access to the session recording in your email. This button right here lets you upload a document directly to the tutor that you're connected with. So you can send them a file, a paper you're working on or something like that. And then this button right here is your CloudPak Explorer. So CloudPak was the storage device that you have. And any documents you've uploaded into your CloudPak, you can access them here in the Explorer and essentially upload them right onto the whiteboard. So it's another way you can share information with the tutor that you're connected with. So you can use the CloudPak option to do that. You can use the Send File button, or you can also just copy and paste right onto the whiteboard. The audio option that you see down here, it'll always be deactivated when you're connected with our tutors. So everything will be done through the chat box and the whiteboard. However, you will be able to use the audio option when you're connected in a Meet session. So the Meet sessions were those sessions that you schedule with other people that you invite to the session. So you're not connecting with our tutors, you're just connecting with the people you invite to that session. And if you're in one of those sessions, you will be able to use audio. Does anyone have any questions about the whiteboard here? Okay, I don't see any questions yet. If anyone is typing them out, though, go ahead and continue, and I'll address that right when I see it. I just have one more thing I want to point out before we'll finish for today. Basically, those Meet sessions that I was talking about just a minute ago, when you connect in one of those sessions, you'll essentially have the same online classroom as the one that we see right here. There's only a couple differences, one of which is the audio option that I just mentioned, so you will be able to use audio in a Meet session. The other is that you can have any number of people connected in one of those sessions. So it might be a study group with 5 or 6 or more students. So everybody would show up here in the participants box, and everyone would be able to type on the whiteboard, or type in the chat box. And then the one additional difference is that if one of those Meet sessions is being run by a teacher or a tutor or someone who's giving help to the other people in the session, that the moderator, or the person who's giving help, will have the option of clicking on each participant's name here and giving them their own private whiteboard. So what that'll do essentially is create separate tabs right up here at the top that you'll be able to click back and forth between. And then essentially when you give one student a private whiteboard, anything put on that board will be visible only to that student and to the moderator. So it's a way for the teacher or the tutor to give some extra one-on-one help to one of the students who's connected there. You can open up a private board for every person in the session, and then you can help out each student individually. It's a great tool in case maybe one of the students is struggling, more so than the others in the session. You can give extra help to that one student in their own private whiteboard. Other than that, though, the session here, a Meet session, will work the exact same way as a regular live tutoring session here, like we just looked at. Okay, so that's essentially everything that I wanted to go over today. So that was all of Help Now and all of Job Now, plus the Adult Learning Center, and our live tutoring sessions. So that's everything, again, that I wanted to go over. I'll open it up now to see if there are any final questions that anyone would like to ask. If anyone does want to ask questions out loud, just go ahead and type a quick message to let me know, and I'll unmute your microphone. And you can ask, as many questions as you have out loud. If anyone needs to sign out, go ahead and do so. And thanks for attending. I hope it was helpful if you do need to sign out. But again, I'll stay logged in for another few minutes to see if there are any final questions from anyone.